I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
Man, that is a sad clown.
Dude, that's pretty good.
This is The Gloom, bringing you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha packs, exploring their F3 experiences and finding those sticky elements that create the glue in the gloom.
Shout out to our sponsors. Major Team Mortgage, Omaha Laser Dentistry, Exclusively Eye Care, Liberty Core Real Estate, Avier Wealth Management, and Apex Men's Clinic. We appreciate their support.
Hey, are you the type of guy that likes to get up early in the winter to battle your jester? Do you love listening to people drone on and on and on about COVID in the gloom? Would you trust your vision to a guy nicknamed Cataracts? Well, if the answer to any of these questions is yes, fellas, you have bigger problems than you think. Dr. Cataracts, aka Dr. Wolf, can't solve all of your problems, but he can certainly help you solve the problems related to your eye health and vision. You will find many F3 principles throughout his practice. Check him out today at Exclusively Eye Care.
Now let's get back to the gloom.
And we're back. Man, I got a smiling guy on the other side of the screen here and a phenomenal leader. I really enjoyed just getting to know this guy over the past couple of years, and would just say I appreciate his vulnerability and just sharing life with the packs. And I know many of you guys will know Pit Stop, and I'm excited to get his story out there to hear his perspective on things. And so it's good to see you, man, and would just love to have you start us at the beginning, sort of who EH'd you first workout, if you remember the details. We like to give the Q a hard time if it maybe wasn't that hard of a workout for a new guy, but tell us about the beginning.
Yeah, actually, I do kind of look back a little bit into the Twitterverse to kind of recall the full workout. But I was EH'd by Escobar.
Nice.
And my first workout, my 3 years actually coming up. So it was August 25th, and I was at Danger Zone. And it was actually Skids' VQ. He was doing a co-Q with Escobar, and they were doing the sort of this Top Gun theme of a workout. And it's funny, I was this morning, I was just trying to pull up like text messages from that time period, and they were encouraging me to wear jeans. And it was like, literally, this is my first workout, thinking, I'm not going to wear jeans to run. Like, I sweat a lot, so I always I don't want to wear jeans. So just remember showing up and actually looked back and I saw a text message I had sent. It was actually storming. It was lightning outside a little bit in the background. And, you know, personally, it's not something I usually would do, is go work out in the middle of a thunderstorm. So my first workout was all the way in Papillion during a thunderstorm. So
nice.
Yeah.
And they were wearing, if I remember correctly, they wore like jumpsuits, right?
They wore jumpsuits. They had 4 FNGs as I kind of look back at that time period. And I remember the workout actually being pretty difficult. You know, I'm used to weights and running, and I think we did a lot on the field. I'm trying to recall if we did bombs, which is like Escobar's like signature workout. But I do remember, you know, initially in my head thinking, I'm in great shape. This is going to be right up my alley. And I just dove right in and really enjoyed it. So
nice. I love it. And tell us a little bit about, so you mentioned you're a runner, and, you know, kind of just curious your sort of history from a maybe fitness or athletic perspective. Like, did you grow up playing sports and became a runner, or what was that journey like?
Yeah, it's I've always been in basically any sport I could be. So I played basketball, played a little football, I ran cross country and track. I played tennis in the evenings with my buddies,
Nice.
Sand volleyball, golf, you name it. Kayaking. I love like basically any sort of physical activity gets me outdoors doing something fun. And really prior to F3, like I really enjoy working out, staying in shape. Just personally, I always tell people like I run and lift to eat. I enjoy eating. So fitness goes hand in hand with that. So yeah, a lot of my background is sort of that sports world and exercise for sure.
Nice. That's awesome. What and have you always been a sweaty guy? Is that just kind of how you've
Yeah,
been,
yeah,
or is that
it's so funny. I mean, I laugh about it a lot, but I remember I've tried different things. When I was in the best shape of my life, I still would have problems. Like when I was
yeah.
training for a half marathon, when I was running cross country, just always been a sweaty guy. So
Yeah. I'm the same, and I think that it's you go through now when it's hot out, right? You go through 3 shirts
yeah,
and maybe, I don't know. I haven't started doing 2 pairs of shorts because I don't know where I would change necessarily in the parking lot of a scooters or something.
I
But
changed at Starbucks last Saturday. Barb Wire and I went for a 10K run, and I got to the Starbucks and I was just miserable. I completely
yeah.
changed shorts and everything. So,
Love it. Well, and sorry, before we get too far, tell us about the name Pit Stop. Like, how did they come up with that?
yeah. First off, ice. I gotta say that. Grizz loves that when I do that. It's a long story. So, um, pit stop. I was thinking back of what occurred before my naming, and I was actually in Boise, Idaho, for work, and I went on a run, and I was midway through this beautiful area, and I had to use the restroom, and so
Yeah.
I stopped, used the restroom, used one of my socks actually, and I continued the run. I finished the run, but I got to the naming, and it's like, tell us a funny story, and of course,
Mm,
this is like super recent, and to be quite frank, like the more you get to know me, I eat a lot of spicy food. I
mm,
enjoy capsaicin on all levels, and I have a tendency to have a very active metabolism, and so
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
how I got the name Pit Stop. So
That's awesome. I love it. Then that makes sense, right? Pit stop and the stomach rub and kind of the pit stop.
Pit
Yeah. Okay.
Stop, yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about ice. What does that mean? I don't
Oh yeah,
recognize that.
so we were at the CSOP this year, and just the group of us running, and there was a lot of little ice patches, and when there weren't, we would have a little fun, be like ice, everyone ice, and
Yeah.
we'd all like tiptoe and we'd giggle like little girls, and so um,
Yeah.
Grizz especially just gets a nice little belly laugh out of it every time we say ice, and so if you hear it at a workout, it comes from that period of time. So
Nice. Oh, I love it. I think that's great. And I think Grizz listens to most of these, so hopefully he's laughing. We got him giggling right now.
oh, for sure, yeah.
Um, I'm curious, talk us through kind of on this, I don't know, physical fitness realm. I know you've maybe dealt with a few injuries over the years, and I know guys are always curious, sort of, what was that like? How'd you overcome that? What were, any prevention strategies? So anything in that space that you would maybe share with us?
Yeah, right before I started F3, it was probably the summertime. I actually had a really bad back strain. Had to go to the
Mm,
emergency room. I couldn't even like move, and so I've dealt with sort of back issues for a long time, and really started to get hurt later in life, and really just started to be really cognizant and careful about my fitness journey. And um, I lift quite a bit heavily on my back. In fact, on my non F3 days, I'll go lift back just so that I can make sure that my core is supported. And so I've had some back issues, and then I've had some knee and hip issues. I listened to Skid's story about his knee recently, and
mm,
I went to the doctor, and they said I need to have knee surgery. And I kind of like balked at it a year and
mm.
a half ago. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to do my own training, and really sort of babied it a little bit and just watched it. And every once in a while, it'll rear its head, um, and so I just kind of I just try to be cognizant of what my body's telling me and just be as careful as I can. And then recently, I had nice 4 pops in my hamstring at the labyrinth. We were Scuba was queuing, and we had a just sort of a sprint to start, and I made it
Mm.
like the second lap into the sprint, and just just could tell it popped. It didn't tear,
Wow.
but again, I just took my journey and just slowly rehabbed back, and just took my time to be cognizant. I know that I'm getting older, and so
No.
um, yeah, even now, I mean, I hadn't. really ran a lot up until this last Saturday with Barb as far as like distance, and I just needed to take it light and easy and not try to be the competitive person that I am, and
Yeah.
try to overly um, accomplish things that I don't need to at this stage of my life anymore. And so, yeah, with injuries, I just try to take them in stride. I'm not very patient. I know other PAX members know that feeling. But I think God kind of gives me sort of the blessing of an injury sometimes, and just saying, slow down a little bit, and just
Yeah.
you don't need to do all of it. So
For sure. Well, I love that, and if I'm hearing you right, it sounds like you did not end up having knee surgery, right? You were
no,
able to kind
I keep I'm pretty stubborn to be honest.
of, yeah. Yeah, it sounds like it, yeah.
So yeah, I still it'll I'll have a month and a half where it'll hurt, and then my other
Mm,
knee will hurt a little bit, and I just try to like ice it and do the right stretches and do the right things and start wearing knee braces. So I'm not wearing a knee brace right now, so it's a good sign, but it'll
mhm.
happen again. And I kind of learned from Skid's journey not to jump into surgery too early either. I'm a big fan of seeing what my body can do,
Yeah.
and maybe wait a little bit on any surgery or intervention for that matter.
Yeah. Have you consulted any of our sort of resident PT like Retweet, or I think Zorro is also in that arena? Have you talked with those
No,
guys
no, I
at
mean
all?
I'm stubborn. I'm not gonna
You
lie.
just Google it and
No, I
that's
could,
awesome.
but no, I'm stubborn. Like that'll resonate throughout maybe even
Yeah.
some of our talk today. But yeah, I'm just one of those guys for sure.
Yeah, no, that's I can identify with that. I think for me, when you look at like knee pain and running, right? They always say strengthen the surrounding and supporting muscles, right? So then you're doing hip stuff and trying to get your calves and everything. But I always, whenever my knee starts to hurt, I always blame it on shoes, and then I get a new pair of shoes, and sometimes the pain goes away. But I'm the last guy that will get an MRI on anything,
Yeah,
I think. So
love
I'm
it,
with you.
love it.
What you mentioned, sort of, so after that first workout, danger zone, you were maybe all in, or but what was, you remember your kind of progression? Like, did you post the next day, or
Yeah,
that sort of thing?
I posted the next day at the maze, and I think I did the pre run. So
Nice.
I really started with almost doing the pre activity, whatever it might be, run, Smurf, you name it, for almost every beatdown.
Mhm.
In fact, this morning I know you and I were at the main stage, and
Yeah.
first time in a while I didn't pre do anything, and it felt weird to
Mhm.
not
Yeah.
do a pre workout before the beatdowns. So I
Yeah.
was all in, and I'll say Escobar is really good at EHing people because he stays on you a little bit, and he invites you, and he encourages you, and he lays it out there. He's a very organized person, so he'll tell you what his schedule is,
Nice.
which allows you to kind of mirror that or plan around that, or to have somebody of support there. And so I think that really helped me in my journey with F3 to just feel comfortable with knowing who he is, and then just kind of following
Mhm.
his lead through that initial stages. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. Like, not just get the guy to a workout, but then keep him going, right? Tell him, hey, here's where I'm going to be tomorrow. And you did miss a good Smurf this morning. We actually appointed Armbar as the official regional Q of HR issues. So, if anybody listening has an HR concern, please report that directly to Armbar. No, anyway,
that's
no,
hilarious.
I love the conversations and the banter during some of those, but. Wow. So you jumped right into even all the pre stuff. Do you feel like was it the fact you were coming off a surgery, or what was it that you sort of got you in a place where you're ready to just be all in that quickly, or was it Escobar, or what do you, any
No,
thoughts there?
I've just always been into exercising and
Yep.
um, taking care of my body, and it's just I know that, like, personally I didn't join F3 necessarily for the exercise, right? It was
Hmm.
more, it was like, hey, it's a camaraderie. There's new people I get to meet, and it's a new change in my life. And so for me, the pre thing was always just it. completed sort of what I was already doing with my exercise regimen, and I notice I'm a happier person when I exercise, and I've noticed that about myself for years and years, and so I know that I have to stay active, otherwise I get into this rut. And so for
Yeah.
me, it was just a natural, like, this makes sense. I will say, the early mornings I did. Um, Years ago, I would get up really early and go to the gym at around 4 a.m. But then I stopped doing that,
Yeah.
uh, and so that was just like a new difficulty, I will say, of just like,
Yeah.
really trying to figure out what that looks like and what time I need to set my alarm and all those good things. So that was probably the most difficult portion for me. Not as much as like the pre, just getting up,
Getting up. Yeah.
prepping for the pre,
Yeah.
and making
Yeah.
sure I had my pit stop before the
Right.
the pre. So
That's a good morning if you get your pit stop done before you get out the door,
you
right?
got it. Yep.
What just thinking, so from a fitness standpoint, because also it sounds like you were at a fitness level where you could tolerate that sort of intensity in the morning, but where are you at today? Are you still able to kind of, I'll say, out king your queen, right? Is the fitness stuff allowing you to maintain what you want, where you want to be, or and would
Yeah.
be curious, how many days a week do you post now?
I in July I posted probably 3 to 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And the days I don't post, I go to the gym every Saturday. So if I'm not posting, I'm at the gym for about 2 hours with my wife, and then every Sunday I ruck with my wife, 5 or 6 miles before church. And so I kind of like have my off day um, periods. I would say I'm getting back into my cardio shape from hurting my hamstring. Hurt the
Mm.
hamstring, went on vacation, sort of came back, and just really getting that cardio back. And of course, we're doing the Murph Challenge. And so,
Yeah. Yeah, you can't forget the Murph challenge.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say that I'm not peak running shape, but I feel really good with where my strength is at.
Mhm.
Ideally, I probably need to shed about 5, 6 pounds, and I'll be where I want to be. So
Sure. Yeah. Well, and it's getting ready to be, it'll be fall and then winter, and you got to put on the winter weight for warmth, right? So
yeah,
then,
yep,
yeah. Oh man, I love it. And it's so cool just to hear your progression, and I love that the group was like, had offerings for you that met you where you wanted to be. I think that's so important for us to keep in mind. So talk us through now, just thinking about that fellowship piece. So you knew Escobar. Did you also know Skids? I'm assuming kind of in that, or okay. Talk
yeah.
us through that. How'd you build relationships?
It's funny. I did not know Skids. Skids and I actually worked at the same place. We didn't know each other. Different time periods, similar areas of Allegiant Creighton at the time, or Allegiant, before it
Mm-hmm.
became Common Spirit, CHI here in town. So Escobar really kind of brought me into his group of guys, the Miller Mojo guys. So I came in with only knowing Escobar, really. It was actually a really good time in my life, though, when it happened, because my wife had just got diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer about a month before I was EH'd, and Escobar had no idea, because him
Oh
and I
wow.
really weren't. We were colleagues at one time, but we were just kind of reconnecting again, and so we
Mm-hmm.
weren't communicating a ton. We were just getting reacquainted with each other, and so he really helped me get to know the group, and I kind of took it on my own sort of mission, just to get to know each one of the guys in my shield lock and spend some time with them, and it's been such a great journey. We're still friends with that shield lock. I've gone on many vacations with these guys
Mm-hmm.
that I really met from being EH'd in, and then being sort of surrounded by these men that had some sort of tie to Escobar in some sort of way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we each created our own ties with each other. So
That's super cool. Do you feel like, so as Escobar kind of introduced you to guys and you were doing all the pre stuff, right? I think some of it's about opportunity, right? Just frequency of interaction and that sort of thing. But talk us through, if you're comfortable, would be curious, like at what point did you share what you were going with, in terms of your wife's health stuff with the group, and maybe the impact that that had on some of the relationships.
Yeah, I think it was actually at my first workout I shared it. I'm a big fan of. I'm stubborn, but I appreciate prayer, and I'm a
Mm.
big fan of sharing the opportunities where prayer is necessary. And so I did not want to shy away from having an individual pray for my wife at the time, and
Mhm.
I had this thought plague the that somebody is going to pray such a great prayer to God, and that'll help her heal, and that it may not
Mhm.
be my prayer, it might be somebody else's prayer. And so I was very open about sharing what was going on with her, because I wanted others to really lift our family up in prayers. And um, certainly I feel like that occurred. And
Yeah.
and I'm actually a very open person in general. For the most part, I lay my vulnerabilities out there. You can tell we talked about
Yeah.
it stops already
Yeah.
in this, and so I'm pretty comfortable with that, and being in my own skin. I'm fine with who I am as a person, and so I think it's also I felt it was empowering for others too to hear those things come out of my mouth, and to share my needs,
Mm.
because I feel like that also cultivated conversations with others who are
Yeah.
maybe going through similar situations, or just having the opportunity to be vulnerable with me as well.
That's super cool. So you shared that as an FNG?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I looked back and I remember seeing some messages about people saying we'll be praying for Lindsay.
Mm. That's so cool.
Yeah,
How did you do you feel like you're naturally just that way, or how did you, like, if because I think we all recognize the power of vulnerability, right? And just
yeah.
the impact that can have, not just for us but for the people around us. But I mean, have you always been that way, or did you see it modeled, or how could another guy sort of work towards that level of vulnerability if they're interested?
I think I developed it over time when I was leading people. I've led folks for about 15 years, and I just felt that creating sort of this trust, it really came down to making sure that there was a little bit of vulnerability, and an opportunity for people to speak their mind.
Mm.
One of the one of my biggest lessons in life has been that I'm not always right. I don't always know which path is the right path. And I think that led to me being vulnerable and open to others, to sharing my failures along with my successes. I'm very open about my failures, um, because I think it allows others to understand that failure is okay. Um,
Mm.
we kind of always let it sort of lay out like where we're doing well in life, but we don't always lay out like what that journey might have been like. And so for me, it just I've always been reflective on my journey, and that sort of led me into just being more vulnerable with folks. And so I think that's where it came from. Could be just genetics too, my folks, I'm not
Yeah.
sure, but
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely something, in terms of just reflecting back, right, and taking time to identify where could we have done better, or where did we succeed. I think on both fronts, it's just important to look back, right? So, I love that. What talk us through, as you think about this fellowship piece. The other thing we kind of talk about is just different opportunities, right? So maybe it's happy hours. You mentioned the shield lock. But just talk us through, like, other maybe opportunities that you've found through the group that helped kind of enhance that fellowship.
yeah, it was interesting being in such a we had quite a large shield lock, and such
Yeah.
a sort of, kind of a diverse group of guys. And I think really just leaning in on each other and each other's stages of life. I think through when I first started Skids' LLS, Leukemia Lymphoma Society, who was launching a campaign to be Man of the Year, and just that listening and hearing that. How do we support you and the
Mm-hmm.
encouragement from the group. Or if it was a journey with somebody wanting to lose, weight loss, or a journey through maybe quitting alcohol for a time period.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of the fellowship has come from just listening and understanding other packs. I personally have found that fellowship piece does sometimes come from just a conversation with folks, and I've walked away many a times from a workout and really reflected on just my conversation with other PAX members, and either have reached out to support, or have really internalized things to change who I am from that standpoint. So I think the fellowship piece, besides all of sort of the opportunities that F3 creates, there's always that opportunity where someone's maybe sharing something with you that you can kind of see through, that there might be another opportunity to connect one off. So
Are you or someone you know in the market to buy a new home? Well, if so, check out Major Team Mortgage. They specialize in home purchase and refinance home loans. Their mission is to purposely empower people to experience their good life through building wealth with real estate. You know, showing up in the gloom is no different than showing up for a conversation around your future of building wealth with real estate. Join the action economy and get in the game with Sasquatch. Text or call John at 402-212-0149 to schedule a time today. Individual NMLS number 1393750. Company NMLS number 2478164. Equal housing lender. You know, I love this idea of just how simple it is to find that fellowship, right? Just a conversation, during a run or a workout, and the fellowship that can be found there. I'm curious, as you think about kind of other relationships, and I don't know, I'm just, as I'm sort of thinking through this out loud, right, thinking about, you join this group, immediately share this challenge that you and your family are going through, and then the conversations about either about that or about what other people are going through, and just, you think about like the other relationships in your life, like your concentrica, right? So the relationship with Lindsay, your wife, with your 2.0s. I mean, talk us through that, and maybe the impact that the group has had on those relationships as you've gone through some of this stuff.
yeah, I would say it's been extremely positive. Um, F3 kind of came into my life at a really opportune time when I reflected a lot on who my friend groups were, how I was acting as a man in my concentrica, and just sort of that family dynamic. And it really has, not only from listening to other men, but seeing other men, and grounding yourself as an individual, creating a routine, sharing maybe a positive quote, praying, whatever it might be, really did resonate back to my home life. And I've seen a drastic change in the last almost 3 years, and on how I look at things. And I would say it's a great form of flattery, but I am one of those guys who doesn't reinvent the wheel. If I hear of a him saying something really impactful he's doing with his family, I want to emulate that and just and see what I can do. And I've heard things from spending an hour of time every night and doing an activity, to um, whether it's a date night, or just these little focal points through that relationship. And F3 really helped ground me there, and really has set a massive tone for how I viewed myself.
Mm-hmm.
I felt, by seeing these other high impact men, I'm not gonna lie, I felt like I wasn't a high impact man, and so I wanted to be one. And so I think that really helped encourage me, rather than this sort of rut of life that I was stuck in. I kept seeing what real high impact men are, and the challenges they go through, and just how they show up in their behaviors. So um, I think my family relationship has benefited immensely from F3.
Mm-hmm. Other than having to refill all the divots from shovel flags in your yard, right? I'm sure that was fun, right? No, I'm
Oh,
kidding.
that was a tough, wonderful, joyful day. So yes, and no sprinkler heads got hit, so we're good.
That was, yeah. And maybe for guys that don't know, do you mind providing just like a high level of kind of that journey that Lindsay's been through? Because it wasn't quick, right? It's sort of
Yeah,
been over the course of a couple years, right?
yeah. It's so Lindsay and I celebrated our 15-year anniversary in Hawaii, July, basically 15th time frame before in 2021, right before my August EHing at F3. And we were there, and she had a nice little lump in her armpit, and we didn't think too much about it. We thought maybe it was just like a swollen lymph node, something like that. And so we come back, and she finds out it's breast cancer, but it's spread to the lymph nodes. And I'll tell you, Plague, that I heard the word triple negative breast cancer really the first time in my life, and I thought, oh, good, it's triple negative. That's a positive, right?
Right. Yeah.
And triple negative is the most aggressive, worst case breast cancer you can get. So with that journey, huge amount of support with other PAX members, but was really fascinating was her before her treatments began. There was no immunotherapy approved on the market for triple negative breast cancer. And it was, I think, a day or two before she went in for treatments, pembrolizumab, Keytruda, which a lot of guys I'm sure here know the name, just got approved for triple negative breast cancer and improving survival rates overall. So we're sitting in the office, and I see this little news come across because I work in the pharmaceutical world, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this! This is great news. And sure enough, her oncologist knew about it. And so, not to shorten the journey too much, but when she went through chemo, radiation, and a partial mastectomy, she did not have to have a full mastectomy. And about a year after she gets through that, things are really looking good. We're celebrating life. Just like, wow, God is good. I cannot believe where we stand. And it was like the fall of a little over a year after she had kind of gone through all this, and she's starting to have eyesight issues, and didn't think too much of it, but she's, saying, oh, it's weird. My eyes are misdilated, you name it. And I'm going to go see an optometrist. So she goes in, and the optometrist says, you need to see a neurologist right away. And so we're a little nervous. She goes in, sees a neurologist, and the neurologist says she has a brain tumor right in the middle of her brainstem. And I'll tell you, and I'll try not to choke up, but pretty devastated.
Yeah. That's terrifying.
Pretty devastated. Because the time she was 38 years old, and we've got 2 kids, and our relationship has just been super strong over the last several years. Like she's my best friend. So remember sitting in the parking lot just sobbing, like I didn't know what to do. And I kept thinking about fighting. And so I'm like, we're going to fight. We're going to do whatever we can. We're going to figure this out. And I remember going through that process and the support I got, and a lot of people giving great advice, and others giving advice, right? And this is the journey you go through. Sometimes you get it random pieces, right? And so the only thing that we found that could be done is this radiostatic radiation therapy directly to the brain stem. And you're going to find this interesting, Plague. I found one paper that was published that said if there is a triple negative breast cancer case with a single brain tumor in the brain stem, if that brain tumor started to shrink, there's a chance for survival and for I'm trying to think of the words escaping me right now, just in the moment of the story. But needless to say, the study really laid out exactly what was going on. And so over the time she had that radiation, it finally started to shrink. And we're to the point now, she has brain MRI. She'll have one next week, PET scans, you name it. but it hasn't grown, and it's only one, and
Hmm.
so it's potentially curable. And so I
Wow.
just couldn't believe it. So, and it's crazy that journey because all through all that adversity, I went through a reorg at work, lost my job. My best friend had a massive panic attack in my house, and so we're all these different like crazy scenarios to try
Yeah.
to push me over the edge. And we just stayed strong and supportive, and just knew God had a plan. And so here we are. This fall will be 2 years since that. And
Wow.
she's had eye surgery because of the damage the radiation caused to one of her eyes, but she's had corrective surgery. She's walking. She's working out. She's got joy in her
That's
life.
amazing.
So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, yeah, because you think brainstem, right? And you think sort of all movement, right? You're
yeah,
like, okay, this is what does this look like, right? You become a full time caregiver, all right? That's sort of
right.
where my mind goes. And what are the chances you find a study that is like the exact layout of her what she's going through in her case? I mean, that's
Oh, it was
yeah,
incredible. I was
yeah,
searching for an answer.
yeah.
I get
Well,
on
so
the internet. So
I think this is a perfect segue into the faith piece because I hear you talk and reference God and your faith and I mean what a journey there, right? I mean, talk about being in a situation where you have no control and just have to surrender
mhm.
the outcome. Talk us through like faith for you. What's that journey look like, and I guess maybe how some of these events have strengthened that, or maybe not. I don't know what it's been like.
Yeah, I've been I'll just lay it there. I've been a strong believer in Jesus. My majority of my life. My dad's a pastor. I grew up in the church. I sit on the church board, and so I do have this strong faith in the sense of purpose that's greater than I think than just my life. And so
Hmm.
um, I know that like through faith conquers all things, and God can do many great things. And despite the anxiety behind the whole journey, I just constantly relied on it's going to be out of my control, and God's got a plan with it. And I think that was extremely helpful for me. Um, I would say F3 helped also re-strengthen my faith because of some of the prayers coming and other guys sharing their faith journey. I mean, I was just on a run with Barbed Wire this last Saturday, and he was just sharing his faith journey, and I really appreciate that openness and that opportunity because it encourages me when I'm not maybe at my peak relationship with God, and so it's been a big aspect. And I remember it's funny. I One of the things I thought about in preparation for this call here is like prayer was one of my favorite parts of F3, and I still look at prayer and the opportunity to hear the COT as one of my favorite aspects of going to F3. So it's been very
Yeah.
impactful for me, and I'm a goofball, and I'm loud, I'm obnoxious, and I say weird things, but I at the center I still have faith. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess what I'm curious, like during everything with Lindsay, did you go through those moments of just like sort of frustration or kind of wrestling with like why us, God, or why now, or was it sort of like you were able to just kind of, okay, this is part of the plan. I don't understand it, but we gotta fight, or how did you process that?
I feel like I got a little bit prepared me for that. Having been through a lot of different adversity throughout my life. I didn't say why us really, or like was frustrated with God. It was more like, well, why not us? Um, if I'm going to be introspective and really learn through life, it was my take was, well, why not us? And I kept reminding my wife of the positive things that were occurring while this was happening. The flexibility with work,
Mm,
having insurance that covered our bills, having the financial means to not worry about what kind of care she was going to get. Um, the fact that she had saved up time, sick time at work, and was able to go to appointments, and her her support staff, and she had a lot of women supporting her through this journey, and
Mm.
so I kept just looking at it. I try to look at it in a different lens. Sort of having owned like properties and going through sort of different strife and really difficult challenges, almost like on a monthly basis with some of the business aspects of my life. I just take it one day at a time and look at it as like I put that bucket, put it in a bucket and say, yeah, this is happening to us, but how do we take what's happening to us and either find joy or opportunity in what's occurring? And
Mm.
so I never felt frustrated. And I really started to reflect, honestly, Plague, on being thankful for the journey that had already occurred with us.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I didn't feel like if she had passed, let's just say, why didn't we do X, Y, Z? I kept thinking,
Mhm.
we're really blessed to have had such a great journey, no matter where life takes us. So
Yeah.
I'd say that never really came up for me.
Yeah, that's such a deep and difficult thing to even think about, right? At a young age of like, what if my spouse, my partner, best friend is not here? And maybe being a pastor's kid, you kind of got, you had a lot of up in your upbringing, but yeah, it just, I think the thing that I love and totally identify with is like, I look at some of the adversity that I've been through and think, how long would it have taken me to learn that lesson on my own? had I done it my way, I would still be trying to figure some of this stuff out. And it's sort of like warp speed. You just like you have no question in life what your priorities are, right? Like every day, right? You've got that kind of ingrained through some adversity. So yeah, I love that. I think I just really appreciate you sharing your story. I'm still sort of mind blown that you shared that as an FNG. With this group of strangers, you just felt like, hey, this is the right thing to do. But just the example that sets from a leadership standpoint is amazing. Talk us through a little bit, because kind of the other side of third F and F3 is like this community involvement piece. And I don't know if you've had a chance to participate in things like that, but we've certainly done stuff like with Project Pink or related to a cause that, lines up pretty well with what you've been through. But talk us through that side of maybe the third F.
Yeah, that's been really, again, another great aspect of F3 is those opportunities. And you said it so early on. I know Escobar and Skids were really working with some of the oncologists around town, and I didn't even know what Project Pink was, and so it
Mm.
really resonated for me to step up and be a part of really helping plan and lead that aspect of things. And um, that's been a big part of my life. I've always been really ingrained into finding opportunities to give, both financially and of
Mhm.
my time. And I try to be really careful, though. I will say that there's a lot that F3 has to offer, and
Yeah.
I purposely do not choose all of it because I don't think you can do all of it well. And I'm just one of those people that I'll pick 5 or 6 things and I'll stick to it.
Mhm.
And so LLS, when Greg's working on that, or Project Pink, I know Patty Mayo now he's a pulmonologist, and so there's some opportunities for like the corporate cup and support of those aspects. And really, I look at it like, again, from that Shield Lock stance. If one of my Shield Lock members is supporting something, I'll absolutely step up and try to be there to support them. So that's been really a fun part of
Yeah.
F3. And you were there with tornado hits, and we were out there helping the community with that, and
Yeah.
just the different opportunities to serve in those manners is great. And F3 provides that vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy, one of the gals during that tornado was in tears when she saw a bunch of F3. Hoser's
Yeah.
wife was like, who called in the F3 guys? I was like, well, they just showed up, sort of like superheroes, right? Ready to help. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I'm yeah, I think your story and kind of this emphasis on reflection is just so powerful. We could probably talk for several more hours, but looking at kind of the mission of F3, right? You think we're trying to invigorate male community leadership. And so I definitely want to get your thoughts on that, right? You've got a ton of experience as a leader. And we try to give guys some more opportunity, right? So you think about like VQs and then even taking over a site, but maybe talk us through leadership and kind of this idea of male community leadership. What's been your experience and journey in that aspect?
Yeah, yeah, reinvigorate the male community leadership, right? So, yeah, kind of reflecting on just the last 3 years in F3. I'm not an overly pushy person when it comes to sort of this leadership piece, but I'm a very supportive person, and I do it a lot of times from behind the scenes. And one of the ways that I try to be to reinvigorate that leadership is just support guys where they're at, and even being PsyQ at Labyrinth, we started biking because Barbed Wire had a fracture or a strain in his shin, and so he was biking with us while we were running. And I'm like, well, why don't we try bike Q so that he has the opportunity to we all bike instead of him being siloed. And I tried to take that, even with just leading that site into to inviting guys who weren't runners to the site on purpose. So I tried to have guys queue that were not your runners. I wanted guys to feel a little bit uncomfortable, but have that vulnerability to show up. And I just encourage them that you don't have to go super hard. You don't have to go super fast. We're going to be with you all the way. And so that's kind of how I've looked at the leadership aspect, and really just supporting guys through their journey. And I personally just kind of like to do it from behind the scenes, or even a text message here or there, and just in how I behave with them, whether it's working out or me voicing something upward to somebody else who might be able to take the ball and run with it a little bit more than I would. So
yeah, well, I know from the thing about the shovel pass last year and sort of this like kind of joke around coupons at a running site, right? Thinking about that, you and Ozark kind of had a little role play there, right, where you were bringing a coupon along, and he reminded you it's not a coupon site, but you've kind of taken that and made it into something cool. Tell us about that.
Yeah, again, it was the night before we actually had the flag pass, and we're having some beers at Boji's house, and I'm like, we should bring a coupon because I'd heard that Rowdy had like done a coupon workout at Labyrinth, and what I didn't want to do is shy away from allowing someone to try to bring a coupon to a running site. If you want to run with a coupon, we'll do it. Ask the fridge. We did that. So that spawned with me giving Ozark a coupon, and I thought, how cool would it be to show up to a running site and you get a coupon as like their gift? And so, because it's ironic, right? It doesn't make any sense. We're not doing a coupon workout. We did one in the entire time that I had the site, but I wanted people to kind of like enjoy that little sense of humor that you get with like, oh, I get a coupon at a running site.
Yeah.
And honestly, it really was fun for me to personalize things. And my handwriting and my drawing abilities are terrible. And
it's awesome. Yeah.
Like I have handwriting of a little kid, and I do. And so, so I really got a kick out of people seeing that. And some reactions are just really positive. And sometimes people are like, what do I do with this?
Just use it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to use it sometimes. So that's how it evolved. And so I think I gave out 53 coupons or so. And there's no more in my garage. Thank God.
No more. You're all out. Yeah, I love it. No, I thought that, because we've got Huffy, right, who's painted these like amazing coupons. And then I really thought I liked the humor of the running site. You get a coupon and it's got this hand-drawn sort of, amateur art coupon.
It's amateur.
Right?
for
Yeah,
sure.
I think it's great, and I don't know. It's kind of nice to give guys some sort of artifact, to remember their cue at the labyrinth. I think that's
Yep.
great. I am curious, and man, the shovel pass this year was
Bad timing.
great. Oh man, well, it was. It's funny. I had nobody knew what Patty was going to pull out of that little
Oh,
canister with the it had a towel in there, and then he pulls out a string of pearls, and
yeah.
was happy to sort of anoint you with this pearl necklace. But talk us through Patty Mayo and sort of succession planning, how that all came about.
Yeah. Patty Mayo or Brian Krychek. What a great guy. It's so funny. We had really no relationship with each other before I EH'd him in, and just a salt of the earth, genuine person. Lives in the neighborhood of Labyrinth K. Didn't even know that when he started showing up. He's a runner. He's a marathoner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he really kind of fit all these molds, and he is a natural leader. He's a speaker. He's very well known, and I say all these things not that makes him a good leader. He's just a good human being, and
Yeah.
so just right away, I just knew this would be perfect for him, and he's really enjoyed F3. He's
Mm-hmm.
got a knife. He's got an F3 tattoo.
Yeah.
You should ask him about it. If you haven't seen it, for anyone listening, ask Penny Mayo to show it to you. But yeah, it was a very natural and easy flag pass. I could have given him the flag 6 months ago.
Yeah.
He's so ready for it, and so yeah, just I couldn't say enough about like how perfect of a person this is to hand that flag to. And what I like about him is he's going to create his own culture and his own thing, and he's going to run with it.
Yeah,
So,
there you go. I love it. I didn't realize I didn't really, know about his sense of humor until he gave you those gifts, and I thought, wow, he's actually a funny guy.
he
I
is a
think,
really funny guy. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, what, yeah, yeah, and the cough, right, which
Cough.
is from the show Doug, I think,
No,
or
so the
there's,
cough is
or is it because he's a pulmonologist?
pulmonologist. That's right.
Okay, yeah,
Yep.
got
Yep.
it. But Patty Mayo, that is a name of the girl in the show Doug, right?
You got it. Yep.
Okay, got it. Trying to figure that out. We'll get that detail from him when he's on
Yeah,
here
you'll have
someday.
to
But
ask him. Yep.
what as you're thinking about, maybe it's being a site Q or a new guy, or would be curious, maybe words of wisdom or advice that you would have for other guys. How do they get the most out of F3 and sort of this journey called life? What would you share there for guys listening?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a couple new guys I've been working out with, Snickers and Peel, that are new, and I kind of
They're all in.
they're
Those
all
two are
in.
all in.
They're all
Yep.
in. Yeah, and I would say my advice is that you're going to see a lot of changes early on, and it's going to be really positive. And I would say give yourself grace. There's going to be, I think there's like a season for everything where
Hmm.
it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be changing as far as your physical changes, the mental changes that go with it. But I think with everything, there's a season. There's going to be a down season. There's going to be an up season, and I would say allow yourself to have a little bit of time during the down season. Give yourself some breaks. Don't give up though. Like
Hmm.
if you need a week to not post and just sleep in with your spouse, or it's okay, and don't be apologetic about it. Just know
Hmm.
guys will support you, and we want to see you. But take time for yourself too, because we want guys to stick around for that further community. Because I think guys can get really all in real fast, and if they're not careful, depending on their personalities, they can get burnt out. So I would just encourage
Hmm.
guys to give themselves grace through the process.
That's great advice for sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because it's like, I think some of those guys we see then when they do step away, they have a hard time coming back because there's like this kind of created pressure of like, I won't be accepted, or I won't be all in as much as I was, or but
I'm out of shape
ultimately,
again, and I was in shape. Yeah.
it's a journey for sure. What about just as you think about your story, your journey, anything that we maybe didn't get a chance to cover that you would want to share with guys? Anything in that space? Any insight, or you feel like we covered pretty much high level?
Yeah, I mean, I've I've just enjoyed F3. That I had my down month in June. I barely posted in June. I went through this like withdrawal because I was a little injured, and um, but I think I'm going to be a lifer. It's funny.
Mm-hmm.
I may not post every single day. I might be out there this morning. I'll be honest. Like I wanted to sleep in. I was just
Yeah.
tired. So,
Yeah.
and that's okay. And so, but yeah, I feel like I've shared really sort of my journey with F3, and and you and I have worked out together too. And I encourage anybody, if you get a chance, would love to get to know them better. And I'm very sarcastic and I'm very dry. So most of the things I say are tongue in cheek. So
Heck yeah. And if somebody wants to request a coupon, I guess it sounds like maybe you're out of supplies.
I'm out of business. Yeah.
You're out of business.
So,
Okay. That business is closed. All right.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I definitely just appreciate your story, and kind of as we wrap up here, where we like to end or kind of get from you is where do you need prayers today? Like if we're praying for you, or if we see you out there and wanted to encourage you on something, what would that be?
Yeah, I would just say prayers for my family. I think God knows some of the unanswered prayers, and I'll share that. Every time my wife has a new PET scan or MRI, we're nervous, right? We're always a little scared.
Mm-hmm.
So just we would appreciate any prayers for our family as we go through just the journey of life,
Yeah.
and would be happy to provide that likewise. So
Yeah. Awesome. Well, this has been great. I appreciate you, and just want to affirm you as a man and a leader, and just how valuable your story has been for me over the years and today. Just kind of hearing you recap, and really this sort of this emphasis on being reflective, and really being able to look back at your journey and pull pieces out that were learnings or failures, and then applying that. So I love it, man. I appreciate you so much. We'll do a little Namerama. I'll start us off. Brandon Flehardy, 38, The Plague.
Joe Anderson, 41 pit stop.
Pit stop.
Ooh.
And there's the little belly rub and yeah, it's like I gotta go, right?
Yeah,
That's
pretty much. Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome. Appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank
Have
you.
a good day.
You too. Take care.